the Republicans have enough control in the House to be able to block any sane, rational reforms of the things that they screwed up back in 2006. But, I guess that's the plan. The plan is to destroy it because, look, as I've been saying, what we're seeing right before our very eyes is a systematic dismantling of we the people. And that's why I've asked Robert Weiner. He is a former White House spokesman, also the head of Robert Weiner Associates, to come talk to about his piece, The Myth of the Postal Service's Finances. Robert, thanks for taking time for me.
Hey, Rick, it's good to be with you again. It's been maybe a couple months, and you really bring the best out in somebody when you interview them, so thanks for having me.
No, I appreciate you coming on. I look at this Postal Service thing, and look, it's well known, it's well documented. The right has wanted to destroy not only the post office, but everything that we, the people, own. So are you surprised that this is going on?
Well, you're right that that's what they want to do. I spoke with the communications director, Sally Davidow, of the American Postal Workers Union, and she said that the reason that the Republicans are blocking the bill to fix the post office is that they want to privatize everything, destroy union jobs, and make them eat cat food. I mean, that's a direct quote from her. So your point is so well taken. And there's a bill with 229 members of Congress.
Yep.
And there's another bill by Maxine, that's the Lynch bill. Then there's the Maxine Waters bill that has another 20. So over half the House, and it's bipartisan, say that the post office should not be subject to the 75-year prepay pension requirement, whereas every other federal agency is 20 to 30 years. So they are absolutely destroying the post office by putting this unbelievable requirement on them that Bush signed, that Darrell Issa, the Republican chair of the House Government Reform Committee, is not allowing to go to the floor a bill that's supported by a majority of the Congress.
No, at the end of it, look, it's about pure ideology. And I wonder how many of the people signed on to it knowing that ISA was going to tie it up. Because, look, at the end of this, you're right. This thing that Bush signed back in 2006 was the poison pill. It was designed to destroy it. And, the question I asked the postal union people before were, are there any other companies? Are there any other government agencies? Is there any entity that has to fund their pension 75 years in advance? And they could come up with none.
No, the answer is none. And I've spoken to all of them. I was with Congressman John Conyers watching the Nationals get destroyed by the Yankees in 3 straight games. We watched the first game of the series together, and there were some postal union people there, and they saw my piece, and they said immediately that it's unlike any other federal agency. That's the deal. And so it is an absolute outrage. There are, it's required in the Constitution. It's in the Constitution that the Congress to establish post offices, quote unquote. There it is.
Yep.
So, it's not something that is supposed to be destroyed. And by the way, you mentioned the transportation bill, Rick. This is emblematic of the entire Republican agenda. It says post offices and roads. It's right in the Constitution. So what is with the Congress not doing the transportation bill? This is the first time ever that Congress is blocking a transportation bill, and the answer, Rick, is because it would create 1 million jobs, and that would make Obama look good. There'd be a full percent down on the unemployment rate if the transportation bill were to pass, and 2% down if all of his jobs bills pass. So when they say, hey, you kept it over 8%, you twits, it would be 6% if it wasn't for you. And that's they're doing, as well as, by the way, we might as well bring it all out here. The stimulus bill was 40% Republican tax cuts. It was the compromise.
Yep.
So it wasn't a full stimulus because the Republicans insisted on the tax cuts that never trickled down into jobs. That hasn't been true since Hoover. Republicans have had a 1.5% GDP growth rate, and Democrats a 5.5% GDP growth rate. We put that into the Miami Herald, and it shocked people. Even the Democratic National Committee communications people, researchers, weren't aware of that. They said, we've never had 5. I said, it's 5.5 for Democratic presidents. So, Rick, I'd invite our listeners, if you want, to go to my website, www.weinerpublic.com, spelled some weird, obscene way, Weiner, weinerpublic.com, and you'll see all the op-eds that we have, the 160 of them, including the one in the Miami Herald, that says, end trickle-down economics now, it doesn't work, or something like that.
Right.
So
we've got a link at thericksmithshow.com. Just click on Robert Weiner's name. It'll take you right there. And you bring up an important part, because I think this Postal Service thing as well, 220,000 jobs on the line. They're talking about closing several thousand.
Well, yeah, 600,000 people it employs.
Yeah, but they're talking about cutting 220,000 jobs.
Correct.
And what would that do to our economy? I mean, this austerity that the Republicans want to bring us, this cut, gut, and punish, is killing us, literally.
Well, look what happened in Wisconsin, when they dropped the public unions from 60,000 to 20,000 because of what Walker did. That is the Republican agenda everywhere, is to privatize and destroy the unions. Privatize and destroy every democratic value. Privatize and destroy the safety net, Social Security and Medicare. Make them Wall Street giveaways, for your grandmother, right?
Yep.
So that's what it all is. That's their agenda. And as a result, we've watched the income of the middle class shrink by 40% in the last decade. 40% shrink. First time in the history of America that we've had a shrinking, and that's thanks to this supposed new economic philosophy that Mitt Romney wants to do of more tax cuts for the rich, $250,000 more for the rich. And, Rick, that's not just maintain the Bush tax cuts, which is bad enough. That's been a disaster. It hasn't created jobs. It's kept us where we are. But he wants to give millionaires $250,000 more in tax cuts. So that's what people have a choice of in this election. If Obama gets his druthers, there was the joke that if Hillary gave Obama two of her balls, he'd have two or something. That was Carville's joke. If we win the election, if we really could get the American people to understand this message, we really might be able to get something done in the second term. That's something that people need to consider. In addition to the disaster that's about to happen on things like the health care bill, because we have a 5-4 Republican-appointed court,
right.
We've got to replace those guys too.
Well, I think you've just highlighted the main reason that I will vote for Obama. I got to be honest, as a labor person, as someone who follows this stuff every day, I'm not thrilled with some of the things that have gone on. I'm not thrilled with the way that he's gone about things. I think the Recovery Act, he could have been much more forceful on. The health care bill, he could have said, this is what I want. I think there could have been things done much differently. But at the end of the day, I still agree with the Biden statement that don't judge us by the almighty, judge us by the alternative.
Well, there's no question about it. Obama came in and was under the illusion that you could compromise and work with these Republicans. But ever since Newt Gingrich, when he was Speaker, it's become a volatile partisan rift. And there's been no compromising ever since he and Tom DeLay came in, the killer, hammer and killer. And so it's been a serious problem. When I was working in the Congress for most of my time, and I was in Congress in the White House for 22 years, when Bob Michael was minority leader, you'd get 60, 80, 90 Republicans to come along with the Democratic majority because you were working together, compromising, and both sides were really trying to get something done for the good of the country. Social Security, Medicare, the Civil Rights Act, all had between 60 and 90 Republican sponsors, even though they used the same words, socialism, big government, and all that nonsense. But when there were the compromises that came in, they would come together, and it would be a bipartisan bill. Now, you have a health bill which Obama brought despite the Republicans' claim to the contrary. He brought them into the White House, talked to them, made 160 tax cuts for business in the health bill, and that was supposed to be what they wanted, and yet not one vote, House or Senate, basically, for the health bill. Yep. That's not how legislation should be accomplished, and the filibusters are 4 times what they ever were because the Republicans are blocking everything, including all the jobs bills.
Yeah, but here's the thing, Robert.
It's a terrible situation now.
But here's the thing, Robert. You think that they care about governing. I mean, look, this is the party that says government can do nothing right, and yet we keep voting for them, and they keep proving to us that the way they govern doesn't work.
Well, they actually don't mean a government can't do anything right. They mean Democrats can't do anything right because they come in and they want wars and they want to stop choice for women. So they have a big role for government. It's just what they want, and they don't ever work with the Democrats in the people programs, the safety net, making our economy stronger, jobs, protecting the environment, building manufacturing. They don't work with us in any of that. They only work with wars and anti-women. For that, big government's fine.
And let's see if we can destroy the post office. Back to this post office piece,
okay.
Because I mean the reality is if they get what they want, and there's talk of what I guess some 3,000-4,000 post office closers,
3,700. That's correct.
You're talking about 220,000 jobs down the road. You're talking about a smaller, less efficient, less timely post office. And I've been saying it's the recipe for disaster, and it's gonna basically make the post office completely outdated, which part of me says is what they want.
And it'll jack up FedEx and UPS and all of them, and the prices. Compare the prices already that you pay at FedEx, UPS, and Airborne and all of that. It's basically 5-6 times what priority mail costs at the post office for basically exactly the same thing. People are crazy if you use those other services because the post office is the cheapest and the best, and your stuff gets delivered right away, and it's without hassle. But that's what they're doing. They want it to all go to their campaign contributors, which is the private sector people. Those guys are huge contributors in campaign contributions, the ones I just mentioned.
I had talked to one of the postal union folks, and they said, what, one of the things that kind of shocked me is they deliver a lot of FedEx and UPS and all the other companies' packages because they go to every single address as a matter of law in this country.
Right. That is correct. And gee whiz, think of what you're mailing for 45 cents. I mean, that's impossible to parallel what you get for 45 cents going anywhere, and not only inside the states, but to Hawaii and Guam. And I used to have friends who one was based in Guam, and he would always take the guarantee because he knew that they'd never be able to quite make the 1 or 2 day delivery guarantee. So he'd always get his stuff delivered free from Guam.
Nice. Well, maybe that's why they got such a problem. Your friend
that
in
is
Guam.
a problem. They have to change that kind of thing.
So what do we do? I mean, look, I know Congress is going to be in session 2 weeks. I know I know the student loan thing is not going to get fixed.
I'm more hopeful than you on that. I've seen this routine before, where ultimately, under the pressure, Republicans don't want to lose every student out there and every kid out there. And I know that their formula is take it out of pension. Well, first it was take it out of women's health care, and then it was take it out of pensions, and the Democrats just aren't going to buy that. But now they're talking about taking it out of top manufacturing income, and so there are compromises that Reid has proposed, and I believe that there could very well at the last minute be a compromise on student loans. I don't think that they want to see that happen as something that's a failure just in time for the election. On the transportation bill, you may be right. I was thinking about that just extensions is probably what they'll do until after the election, but they will do an extension. It's tragic that we can't have a full jobs bill out of it, though. The Postal Service, no, I don't see a fix happening. They're just standing their ground. I thought we could maybe tweak it, maybe make a big movement out of it. We put it in the Des Moines Register, and then it's out on Truth Out and Op-Ed News and the radio. It's not going to make enough of a splash to get everybody angry. And Lynch's people were hoping, too. They said, where else, what other media did it run in? Well, not enough.
Well, what's going to have to happen is, and I say this about a lot of things, there's got to be pain and suffering, and people have got to wake up and go, hey, where's my mail? And that's when the outrage will happen.
Then it's too late. It's destroyed.
Yeah, well, and that's, again, that's the problem. People wake up after it's too late.
People are annoyed. They're really annoyed about the cutbacks of offices and the cutback of Saturday service. Those are things so they have stopped that. Even in Iowa, where I put this piece, the Des Moines Register, there was a compromise that because of political pressure, there were shorter operating hours, but they kept all the post offices open, and so pressure does work, so maybe it can work again.
Yeah, that's why you call your elected officials and scream and holler and carry on and do all of that stuff, as I suggest folks do quite often.
Now, there's the problem, Rick, is when you get right to the post offices, there's internet and people are texting on the phones and all of that kind of stuff now. So there's less need for some of what the post office used to do, and what the post office ought to do, but it's blocked by Congress from extra services. They ought to become internet cafes. They've got to wake up and join the 21st century.
Yeah, well, that's not going to happen because we really don't believe in free markets. No. We believe in free money to hand out to big corporations, but none of that free market stuff they preach. The website, weinerpublic.com. We've got a link at thericksmithshow.com. Just click on Robert Weiner's name.
Thanks for that, Rick.
Take you right to the website. Tons of stuff there. Robert, it's great talking with you.
And Rick, I love feedback from people. The email is up on my website, so if you have reaction to anything we said or any of the op-eds, I love to get it.
All righty, great. Are you in Washington, D.C. today?
Yes.
So you'll be at the Campaign for America's Future
conference? I was there today. I will not be there tomorrow. I missed you. I know you're coming in. Everybody knew it. Everybody's waiting for Rick Smith to come, the media people and Jason Fornicola from Fed News Radio. Everybody was waiting for you to come, and they know you're coming tomorrow. Yep,
we will be there tomorrow to do the broadcast from there.
Yeah, C-SPAN was there today.
Oh, good. Well, I look forward to seeing you at the next function. It's always great. It's always great seeing you, Bob.
See you, Rick.
Thanks so much. Quick break. Right back with your calls, 1-888-520-RICK, 1-888-520-7425. This is The Rick Smith Show, where working people come to talk.
Leaders for involvement, 3,000 people screaming out, where's our government? Lawsuits and arraignments, members under company surveillance, public divided, either they love us or they hate us. Profit billions off our back, and it's still not enough. They should have took into account that we never give
class radio experience, where hard work, common sense, and rational thought are a reality. The Rick Smith Show.